And hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shabbat Show. So great to be with you again. Another week. We are charging into the new year. And thanks so much for joining us, the first Shabbat Show of the new year. It's great to be with you. It's great to be back for another week. This week's show is sponsored by Ushi and Esti Stoller, and honor their daughters, Alicia and Malka. The Stollers not only are close personal friends of our family, they are close friends of the Project Inspire family. And Project Inspire thanks the Stollers and their entire extended family for being active partners and friends for many years. They've actually helped build a foundation of which Project Inspire is on right now, and they continue to participate to this day. So thank you to the Stollers for sponsoring the show, and we appreciate your friendship and partnership. The show is once again sponsored as a program of the Carl Enoch Goldman Center for Jewish Values. We thank Jay Goldman for his dedication. We've got a very interesting show tonight. I don't know about you, but this is a pretty big period of time politically. Do you feel this way? Have you ever in your life felt more insecure with what's going on in our government? I've never experienced what we've experienced in these past few months. And today's show is going to be dedicated to Jews in the political arena, to getting a perspective about how we engage in the political arena. We're going to meet incredible people. Before we do that, I want to just play for you a video from the famous lawyer and activist Alan Dershowitz, and then we'll come back and continue introing the show. Check this out.
I grew up in a frightened community. I was born on the eve of the Holocaust, 1938. My mother and my brother was born. My mother kept saying she didn't know whether she would have him in some bunker or in the basement somewhere. We were all terrified of war, and we were all terrified of what was happening to the Jewish community. It was a powerless community at the time. Hard to imagine today, but no influence in Congress, no influence really in any aspect of politics. It was a community that really felt that they were the guests in somebody else's country. They were second-class citizens. They were tolerated at best, and they had better behave. And it was a community of people who were very patriotic, quite conservative in their outlook toward many things. People sometimes stereotype the Jewish community as being a very radical community, and there are many secular Jews who were radical during that period of time, some communists, some socialists. But in the Orthodox community I grew up in, quite conservative, quite patriotic, and frightened is the word I think I would use more than any other. The message I constantly got from my parents and grandparents was, "Shashtil, be quiet, be quiet. Don't rock the boat. Don't do anything. Don't make your hosts, the real Americans, mad at you. Whatever you do, do quietly." Obviously, it didn't take with me, and I reacted, I think, to that.
That's what we're going to talk about tonight, this concept, the Jewish history and our approach today, this concept of shashtil, be quiet, don't shake the boat, don't expose yourself, don't push too hard. What is that balance? What is that perspective? What are the things that we can do now to defend ourselves, to represent ourselves? What's the approach? We've got a great show of people that have very specific approaches to this, real activists. We've got Dov Heikkinen on the show. We've got David Greenfield on the show. We've got Dalia Attar on the show coming up. We've got some interesting perspectives that I think you're going to appreciate in terms of Jews in the political arena. We also have a very interesting bunch of guests that are going to be on as well, speaking about a challenge they accepted. So we got Kahoot coming on around 8:30. Get ready for that. Just as a prelude for those who are getting, every week I get an email or text from someone saying, I was getting on, I didn't get the number, and I missed it. Here's the deal, kahoot.it, or you can go on your app, get it ready. It's around 8:30 because we say the number very quickly. We want to get you involved. We want to get you playing. Even if you're playing just against each other, you can compete like what goes on in my home. Also, if you want to, I would love to give you a shout out. Please feel free to chat on Zoom, or you send me the message on my Facebook page, and we could we just love to just wish you Shabbat Shalom. And it makes not only us feel good, it actually makes everyone else recognize they're a part of one big family. Okay, so I want to bring out my first guest. In truth, our first guest tonight was the inspiration for the show. If you remember 2 weeks ago, we spoke about anti-Semitism. And at the end, we showed a clip of David Greenfield in, I think it was the city council. And he was speaking on the floor of the city council. And he was so passionate and he was so good that it caused this reaction from you, from our audience. The people were so moved, and we went back in our meetings that, we actually got to do more of this. So before I introduced Mr. Greenfield, I want to play the video of what we saw 2 weeks ago. Check this out.
Thank you, Madam Public Advocate. I've waited my turn here. I've followed protocol in the New York City Council and haven't spoken out because I respect this chamber. I have to tell you, I'm still shaken to my core. I'm upset, I'm angry, but I'll tell you honestly, I'm actually somewhat pleased at what we saw here today. If you're wondering why I'm saying that, is because for the last few weeks, we've heard from people who said, oh, we don't dislike Jews. We only dislike the state of Israel. We have no problem with you. We simply don't want you to go to Israel. But we know that's not really at the core of what they were saying, and today they proved it. While we were discussing a resolution regarding the murder of 1.1 million human beings, I will point out that 90% of whom were Jewish, but the other 10% were political dissidents, they were Jehovah's Witnesses, they were gays. Those were the people who were being killed together in Auschwitz-Birkenau. While we were discussing that, they had the nerve, the chutzpah, the temerity to unfurl a Palestinian flag and to yell at us while we were discussing that. And so the reason I'm pleased is because we can stop pretending that this is about Israel when the reality is that every Middle Eastern country that is in existence today is not democratic. It's people of other faiths, and persecutes gays, and persecutes people who disagree with them, and persecutes people on Twitter, and persecutes women who drive, except for one country, which is the state of Israel. And so what you saw here today was naked, blind, anti-Semitism. That's what you saw, and that's what you watched, and that's what you witnessed. People who are upset for one reason. Do you want to know why they're angry? Do you want to know why they're unfurling that flag today? Because Hitler did not finish the job. He only wiped out half of my family. And only by the grace of God is the other half, me, the grandchild, still alive today. That's why those people are upset. Shame on them. Shame on them for hating Jews. Shame on them for hating people. Shame on them for disrespecting the most diverse, democratically elected body in the United States of America. And that's why we go to Israel. We go to Israel to make a message that is clear, that we will not be cowed by this fear and by this hatred that we have, where these are people who would celebrate the death of Jews rather than mourn the death of innocence. I am embarrassed at what happened here today, but I am pleased that we finally see what this is all about. Good old-fashioned anti-Semitism. Thank you.
Councilmember Mealy.
So I want to invite David to the show. David Greenfield is the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Director of Met Council. He's an accomplished legislator, a popular law professor, and a noted media personality with broad experience in government and non-for-profit organizations. As CEO and Executive Director, David has expanded Met Council's mission and services to help over 225,000 New Yorkers through a multitude of direct services and policy advocacy. In his 8 years in the City Council, David authored nearly 30 pieces of legislation that were signed into law by Mayors Michael Bloomberg and Bill de Blasio. David passed historic legislation mandating affordable housing, reforming the landmarks preservation process, and providing free security guards for over 100,000 private school children. It's an honor to introduce Mr. David Greenfield. Thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you. It's really a thrill to be here. A big fan of the show, a big fan of Project Inspire, and of course, a big fan of Charlie Harari. So thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. And I got to tell you, we played that video. This is our second time. This is the first time in Project Inspire show history that we had a video twice. And we're getting reactions like, wait a second, because we've got the best fans in the world. And we were so moved the first time that we had to play it again. And in fact, we built the whole show in many ways based on what we felt was important from your video. Can you give us a little bit more about what was
Sure.
going on around you and inside you when this was happening, when you gave your impassioned remarks?
So, it's very interesting. First of all, as a public speaker, which obviously you're by far the best public speaker that we have today in the Jewish community.
Very
And I'm
kind of
sure
you.
you know that you work hard when you want to prepare for a speech. And it's always fascinating when the one speech that people remember the most is the one that you didn't do any preparation for, right? It was an
Right.
impromptu speech. And it's really fascinating in that respect. But a few things were happening. Just to put this in context, what happened was this is a time when you began to really see for the first time in New York City, which we now see very present. But back then, it was the first time a few years ago, we had these very public anti-Israel activists who would then protest elected officials who were supporting Israel, including they would protest elected officials who were planning on going to Israel. So we were planning a trip to Israel, and they had come, and it happened to be, and I did not believe this to be a coincidence till this day. On that day was the day that we were commemorating the liberation of Auschwitz. And they waited 2 hours until we started that commemoration to unfurl a Palestinian flag and to start yelling and screaming anti-Israel and anti-Semitic slogans at us. And I had waited because I'm a very big believer in protocol and decorum. And that's why you heard at the beginning, I waited my turn. I
Yeah.
waited a few minutes because there's a protocol and everything had to get settled. And I wanted to make sure we did that. And that's when I responded in that very public and impromptu way. And really, I was frustrated. So what do you do when you're frustrated and you're a public speaker? You jot down some quick notes and you say, okay, let me not say anything that I'm going to regret saying later, quite frankly, because
Yeah.
your emotions get the best of you. And that was really it. I just jotted down some notes and then I spoke from the heart. And I think it was well received because it really did come from the heart. And people understood that it was my true, genuine feelings as the grandchild of Holocaust survivors who had grown up hearing about the loss that we had all faced throughout our communities. It was just really impactful and meaningful to me. And I will tell you that even the elected officials who were originally sympathetic to their position came to me afterwards. Until this day, we have some very high profile supporters of Israel, many of whom came to me. For example, Congressmember Richie Torres was my colleague in the city council at that time, and he today is a very proud, progressive, democratic, pro-Israel member of Congress. And so it had a lasting impact on a lot of people.
So when you're speaking, I'm having this thought that is counterintuitive as a Jew, right? My grandparents are also Holocaust survivors. What Alan Dershowitz opened up with is very much how I got what I got from them. I got the undertone of stay quiet. This isn't just keep your mouth closed and don't make a scene, right? Like you got to, if you walk around with a yarmulke on,
Yeah,
you almost
yeah.
are trained when you're young that it's basically a target. And I think what was so inspiring about what you did was not only your words, but it was the fact that when you were up against anti-Semites and anti-Semitism, there is a side that would say, this is it, this is how it is, and our job is to stay quiet and to really get out of the way. And what I'm hearing you saying is not only was your pushback and your ability to stand up for yourself and for your people your way of getting back, it actually gained the respect of other people that were watching. Have you found that to be the case in which when we are up against things that are hurting us and we take the position of it's not our this or it's not our that or no one's going to listen, in fact it's really it's counterintuitive to how it should be when we should be showing a lot more courage on the streets?
Yeah, I think so, but I think it also needs to be measured. Remember, right, we live based on a philosophy that's thousands of years old, which is literally written in the Pirkei Avos, which is the ethics of our fathers, which is essentially a compilation of the greatest Jewish rabbis in the history of the world. And what they tell us is, Havi Zahirin Bereshus, be very careful of government. So, Charlie, it's not you and it's not Alan Dershowitz. It's 2,000 years of history where generally government has not been friendly towards the Jews. And literally, the smartest rabbis are telling community leaders, be very careful when you interact with government.
Right.
And I do think just one point I will make, which is I absolutely agree with everything you're saying. And I think you need to be definitely need to push back. It has to be appropriate, but it has to be done in a professional way, right? Which is that, if you're not feeling well and you had stomach pain, you would not go to your local pizza shop and say, hey, can you give me a can of Coca-Cola and make everything better, right? You'd either go to a pharmacist or a doctor. And I think that there does require a certain level of professionalism in this kind of work. And I think that everybody kind of thinks like, oh, I can do that. And the answer is no, not really. Like, people say,
Very
I've
good.
heard people say, oh, Charlie Harari, I can give a speech. I'm like, you give a speech, but not like Charlie Harari, right? I mean, so there is a skill set to actually interacting with government, knowing what to push. I'll tell you a fascinating story. When I was first deciding whether I should run for office or not, because I'd always been a political operative, and even in my current role as CEO of Met Council, we're the largest Jewish charity in New York, we are tremendous advocates on behalf of the poor community, but especially the poor Jewish community, and we really work very hard on that. I'll tell you what's interesting is that when I first decided to run, I met at the time with the leading Torah sage, and his name was Reb Aryeh Leib Steinman in Bnei Brak. And I had a conversation with him, and we were going back and forth on whether I should run. And at the end of the conversation, he said, you should run. He said, but I want you to remember something very important. And we were talking in Hebrew back then. He said, a lot of people think that the job of an elected official is to make a Kiddush Hashem, to sanctify God's name. He said, that's not true. He said, the job of an elected official first is don't make a Chil Hashem. Do not embarrass the Jewish community. And that always stuck with me. And it's very, very poignant words, because I think a lot of people just say, oh, I'm going to become an activist. It's a professional work just like anything else. And I think people need to be very careful before they step into the arena. You should step into the arena, but you should do it with seichel, as we say, brains and strategy and experience and wisdom.
So what would you tell somebody now looking at the world today and seeing what's going on? The lay people, someone like myself, I'm not a professional in any way in this arena. And there are others that are watching and saying, there are things that are beyond what I can touch and beyond my expertise. And there are areas that I care very much about. What kind of guidance would you give somebody in terms of what their responsibilities are today in the current political world?
So as a lay person, what I really suggest to people is, first, let's start with the basics. Are you registered to vote? And is everyone in your family registered to vote? A lot of people are like, I want to change the world. Do you even vote? I don't vote. I don't have time for voting. Well, buddy, if you're not voting, right? It's like somebody saying, I want to keep kosher, but I really enjoy those cheeseburgers. Well, that's not really going to work, right? So you got to decide, okay, first, you need to register. Your family needs to register. Your friends need to register. Then moving up from there, I would say, get involved in the campaign of somebody running for office that you feel passionately about. And that's actually a tremendous way that you can have an impact. You don't have to run yourself, right? You can help someone. You can volunteer. You can raise money. You can show up and collect signatures. When you build relationships with like-minded elected officials, that empowers you. Mm-hmm. And really, it's interesting because I was thinking about something that Alan Dershowitz said, and obviously everyone reveres Alan Dershowitz. He's one of the great lawyers in the history of our community. And what's really interesting, and something that I still think of till this day, is the Jewish community does not have power. We now have influence. And there's a very big difference between the two, right? And the goal should not necessarily be to attain power. It should be to attain influence and to use the influence strategically. And one of the ways you can do that is by building relationships with people who are running for office. That's when they need the most help. And those are the friends that they remember forever.
Interesting. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Thanks for what you do. And may God continue to give you the blessing of A, not making a Chil Hashem, and B, making a big Kiddush Hashem and shining your light on the world. Thank you so much.
Amen. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining. And that was David Grievelman. And it's so great to have him on. And he's an individual who I've been able to watch and in so many different ways, thinking about us and taking care of us. And I echo his words, which is to be careful, to be mindful, to be deliberate, but also to not pass on our American opportunities to get involved in the right ways and to increase the proper influence that we have on the world around us. Every person can actually make a difference, especially people that are watching from different environments, especially if you're watching from an environment that doesn't have a very large Jewish community. You'd be surprised the influence that each person can really make. We have, just as a shout out to Project Inspire, as you know, Project Inspire is the host of the show. Every week they have Mind Flex, the opportunity to really dig deep. Great program. Check it out. This week we've got an awesome couple, Rabbi Shlomo Rebbetzin Devora Buxbaum. They're of Silver Spring, Maryland, and they are giving a class called Life Lessons from the Outreach Trenches, a couple's journey to share the beauty of Judaism. You don't want to miss that. That's on projectinspire.com. And speaking of projectinspire.com, we've got a special group of women on the show here today. 3 women. Project Inspire does a lot of programming. And one of the most popular programs that took place a while ago is this great challah hosted by Project Inspire Arizona for women all over the country, leading up to the Shabbat Project weekend, which was that special Shabbat Project weekend, remember a few weeks ago, that we all celebrated together. On the show, I would like to invite 3 women to tell us a little bit about their experience. Robin Meyerson from Scottsdale, Michelle Reichner from Rockland, and Jennifer Karachi from Arizona. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank
Do I
you.
see
Thank you
you
for
all
having
on?
us.
Oh, it's great to have you on. I'm feeling it all.
Thank you.
Thank
So-
you.
Thank you for being here. So let's start with Robin. Robin, give us a little bit as to what this challenge was from the challah bake.
Well, you know, the Shabbat Project, it's a great event, and it's once a year. And we had all these women get together on Zoom and make challah and have a great time, listen to some music. But we thought, what can we do to keep the inspiration and the excitement going for more than just one Shabbat? So we instituted this thing called the Shabbat Challenge, and people had to go online and choose 1 or 2 things that they would take on, something new, whether light candles on time, make challah, sit down, learn some Torah, and then one thing that they would do to sort of like disconnect to make their Shabbat even more exciting and wonderful. And so we had all these families sign up, and now it's 12 weeks. That's the challenge. And now we're going into week 10. So, you know, like
Wow.
if you do like a ritual, it becomes more habitual.
Good.
So that's where we are.
That's amazing. So Jennifer, what did you do? What resonated with you in this program?
Well, I have been going to the challah bake for quite a while, and I'm very close with Robin. We actually share a birthday, which we found out this year. But yeah, I know, right? Anyway, the Shabbat challenge, I've always wanted to observe Shabbat a little bit more, and my husband and I are recently married, and we've talked about how we can kind of bring Judaism a little bit more into our lives. And so we really decided to commit to lighting candles on time, doing Kiddush, doing Hamotzi. We did that in November, we committed. And then we actually got COVID in December. And surprisingly, lighting candles was still, and doing all of the rituals we committed to was still so important to us. And even though we were both sick and isolated in our own rooms, like it was still that time where I lit the candles. And then my husband and I both took time separately to really talk to God, think about, you know, what we need for us, what we need for the world and for our family, and just really take that time to like separate ourselves from the week. And we committed to not being on social media and just really trying to disconnect as best as we could. And it's definitely given us that depth that we've been looking for, especially on Shabbat. So it's been really, really meaningful for us.
Oh, that's amazing. And I got to tell you, as someone who's been keeping Shabbat for a long time, just hearing you speak is inspiring me. So I'm sure you're inspiring so many others. So thank you for that. Michelle, let's go to you. What did you do? What resonated with you during this
Hi.
challenge?
Nice to finally meet you face to face, Charlie.
Thank you.
Well, in December 2019, I took the trip to Israel with Project Inspire, and I purchased Shabbat candlesticks holders. I purchased candlestick holders. And my goal was to use them once or twice a month, and it never happened. So now, fast forward, I decided to take part of the Shabbat challenge to bring a little more religion in my life and be closer to Hashem, especially because of COVID. Well, 2020 has changed my life. Every Friday before I light the Shabbat candles, I give tzedakah in memory of my parents and my father-in-law. I do the blessing over my son. He's 19. I do the motzi, and now I make my own challah. The prayer over the wine. I use china, fancy flatware, and every Friday I make a new recipe for dinner.
That's great.
And as far as disconnecting, it's becoming easier for me where I'm not watching TV, and I can now keep my cell phone off for 23 hours.
Wow.
And by doing this challenge, it has helped me bring more peace and calmness in my life. And I feel everything is okay because I'm closer to Hashem and he listens to my prayer. And it's just been wonderful, a wonderful experience. And I'm going to continue to do this.
Amazing. What an
Thank
incredible
you.
thing. Thank you, Michelle, for that. That was so special. And thank you, Jennifer and Robin. We bless all of you to continue doing great things, and we look forward to the next challenges. And I hope and pray that people are watching this right now, take on their own challenges to be able to really connect in a much deeper way. Thank you all, and Shabbat Shalom to the three of you.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, guys. And that was awesome. That was Project Inspire's program. You should check out again, Project Inspire. Such great programs. We thank them for all that they do. And we thank Project Inspire for continuously inspiring the Jewish people. Remember, you can also get to one-on-ones. If you go to one-on-one, if you text one-on-one to 97,000, don't forget those one-on-ones. It's a great opportunity to create your own learning opportunity. Okay, we're going to get back to our politics show in just a minute. It's about 8:30. It's 8:26, so it's a drop early. So I'm sorry, but we're going to go straight to Kahoot. Please feel free right now to go to Kahoot, kahoot.it, kahoot.com. It don't really matter. Just get on with the signing up for Kahoot. We want to get going over here. For my mom, I'll wait a couple more minutes just to make sure you get the code. 414-7229, 414-7229. Seeing people jumping in right away. As the people are signing up, I want to wish a couple of Shabbat Shaloms to the Begun and Bolton family. Shabbat Shalom. Rochelle Kersner, Rochelle and Michael from Toronto. Shabbat Shalom. Hindi and Leah from Toronto. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom. The Novak family. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to Rivka Tyler. Shabbat Shalom to the Silver family in Highland Park. To Henya from Toronto. To Zahaba from Brooklyn. Shabbat Shalom to Tanya and Austin Friedman. Shabbat Shalom to David Jassy. David Jassy's on. That's awesome. Shabbat Shalom to you. The Gutstein family from Passaic. Shabbat Shalom to Leah Parrell in New York. Shabbat Shalom to Linda from Boston. I think Linda is making Jamie Geller's recipe. How do you like that? That's amazing. Okay, we can give people to sign up on Kahoot like one more minute as we continue on over here. Shabbat Shalom to Meira, Simon, and Simons of Phoenix. Okay, let's get rolling. Let's get Kahoot going. Oh, there's a couple more people that are joining. All right, let's get rolling. We give you as much as we could. Here we go. Question 1. This White House chief of staff is Jewish. H.R. Hadelman, Rahm Emanuel, Dick Cheney, or Peter Roos? Which of these White House chief of staff is Jewish? Shabbat Shalom to Jennifer Karochi of Phoenix. Great job on the interview. Shabbat Shalom to Barb Perlmutter of Lincolnwood, Illinois. Shabbat Shalom to, well, let's see how we're doing on our question over here. 4 seconds left for the first question. And the answer is, very good, Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel, chief of staff. Rahm Emanuel, he's Jewish. Rachel S. Wow. If there are 2 Rachel S's, that's phenomenal. A lowercase s and an uppercase s. Mitch, Hillary, and the Silvers. Okay, that's amazing. Let's get rolling. Question number 2. How do you say politics in Hebrew? Polki, politika, poloni, or al takshiv? Well, the Israelis, I'm sure, love these ones. Rivka Mansour, Shabbat Shalom. The Mervis family in Silver Spring, Shabbat Shalom. The Levin family in Southfield, Michigan, Shabbat Shalom. Rachel from Massachusetts. Shabbat Shalom from the Mandelmans, Shabbat Shalom. Tavival Himmelstead and family, Shabbat Shalom to you. 7 seconds left of our question. How do you say politics in Hebrew? The answer is politika. Politika. I hope you enjoyed my Israeli accent. Politika. Oh, we all got it right. Let's see. Rachel S. and Rachel S. The Silvers are climbing on the Rachels. Hillary B. And winner no matter is climbing into the ranks. Here we go. According to the Pew Research report, what percentage of Jews in the U.S. affiliate with the Democratic Party? How many Jews, what percentage of Jews are affiliated with the Democratic Party? 26, 42, 64, or 73? According to the Pew Report, how many Jews, what percentage of Jews affiliated is Democrats? Any more Shabbat Shaloms coming in? Here we go. The answer is 64%. 64% of Jews in the U.S. affiliated with the Democratic Party. And let's see what that does to our... Wow, soft as Susie's climbing. Not me. The Cad family, Sharon N and BF. Did you see how one question just totally flipped the leaderboard? Is that amazing? Okay, this is how it works in Kahoot. Every single question matters. Let's go to the last question. During the Trump administration, which Jew holds the position of Deputy National Manager, National Security Agency, NSA? During the agency, who held the position of Deputy National Manager, National Security Agency, NSA? Jason Greenblatt, Reed Cordish, John Eisenberg, or Ann Neuberger? Who held that position? National Security Council Agency. Shabbat Shalom to Richard and Leah Bassett in Toronto. 5 seconds left for Kahoot. And the answer is Ann Neuberger. I knew Jason Greenblatt would get most of those. Ann Neuberger. Let's see how we did on today's Kahoot. Number 3 goes to Patriots Rock. Shocker. Patriots Rock places again. Hillary B at number 2. And number 1 is BF. BF climbed out of nowhere, by the way. Sarah and Z. None of the people that won, just for those who were watching Kahoot, like the way I used to watch, like as a little kid when I was in Monticello, we used to go watch the races. None of the people that won were actually on the leaderboard towards the end. It's every question matters. And for those that are playing with their families, keep it up. Hope you are enjoying the competition to your families. And thanks so much for playing, and congratulations to the winners. This next video is very powerful. It was a video from Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss is a New York Times columnist. She gave a powerful speech at the No Hate, No Fear Solidarity March in New York. There were an estimated 25,000 people in attendance protesting recent outbreak of anti-Semitic attacks. Check out this speech from Barry Weiss.
My name is Barry Weiss. I am a proud American, I am a proud New Yorker, and I am a proud Jew. I am not a Jew because people hate my religion, my people, my civilization. Not for a single moment does Jew hatred make me a Jew. I am a Jew because of the audacity and the iconoclasm of Abraham, the first Jew of all. The whole world was awash in idols and lies, and he stood alone to proclaim the truth. There is one God. I'm a Jew because my ancestors were slaves, and because the story of their exodus from Egypt, their liberation from slavery, is a story that changed human consciousness. I'm a Jew because our God commands us to never oppress the stranger. I am a Jew because of Ruth, the first convert to Judaism, who said, "Your people will be my people and your God will be my God," reminding us of the centrality of the Jewish people to Judaism. I'm a Jew because of Queen Esther, who understood that she had attained her royal position to save her people from destruction. I am a Jew because the Maccabees were the original resistance, because they modeled for us and for all peoples how to resist the temptation of self-erasure. I am a Jew because when Rabbi Akiba was being tortured to death by the Romans, he laughed. He laughed and he told his students he could finally fulfill the commandment to love God with all of his being. I am a Jew because even after the heart of Judaism and Jewish sovereignty were destroyed, My people refuse to accept the logic of history and to disappear. I am a Jew because my people has been targeted and despised and murdered by the Nazis and the Soviets. I am a Jew because evil hates my people. I am a Jew because my people managed to turn destruction into redemption by returning to their land after 2,000 years. I am a Jew because the founders of this country saw themselves as the new Israelites. I am a Jew because the words on the Liberty Bell, proclaim liberty throughout the land, rang out from the righteous mouths of this country's abolitionists as they fought for universal freedom in the New Jerusalem. I am a Jew because it was Emma Lazarus who etched the biblical injunction to welcome the stranger onto the consciousness of America when she wrote the words, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." I'm a Jew because of the martyrs of Tree of Life and Chabad of Poway and Jersey City. And I am a Jew because of the courage of those who fought back in Muncie and then who immediately after the attack gathered together and sang. I am a Jew because my brothers and sisters in Crown Heights, in Borough Park, and in Williamsburg refuse to hide their Judaism. I am a Jew because of students across this country who refuse to be smeared and denigrated because of who they are, who are standing up against humiliation, pressure, and abuse to affirm the justice of Zionism. I am a Jew because my brothers and sisters in England and France are battling the anti-Semitism of populist thugs and politicians in Parliament. I am a Jew because I refuse to stay silent in the face of injustice. I am a Jew because I have no patience for leaders who speak and tweet boldly but fail to take the actions necessary to protect our community. I am a Jew because I do not stand for partisan hacks who claim that anti-Semitism is the exclusive domain of their political opponents. I am a Jew because I oppose leaders who believe they can fight Jew hatred while making political alliances with anti-Semites. I am a Jew because I refuse to lie. I am a Jew because Jews are of every color, class, politics, and language, and I am a Jew because the hatred of us has no color, no class, no politics, and is of every language. I am a Jew because Jews do not cause Jew hatred, ever. Today, as with so many times in history, there are forces in the world and in this city insisting that Jews need to disappear or die. Some say it bluntly, some cloak it in the language of progress. But I am a Jew because I know there is a force far greater than that. And that is the force of who we are and of our world-changing ideas. The Jewish people were not put on earth to be anti-Semites. We were put on earth to be Jews. We are the people whose God never slumbers or sleeps, and so neither can we. We are the lamplighters. We are the Maccabees. We are the ever-dying people who refuses to die. The people of Israel lives now, and we live forever. Am Yisrael Chai.
Wow. Wow. Am Yisrael Chai. I don't know about you, but I felt proud. I feel proud, man. Man. We're lucky to be part of this people. We're lucky to be part of this history. And part of this history comes with the need sometimes to step up in our way, to be able to not sit silently by when there's stuff that has to get done. Everybody has their place. Everybody has their spot. And whether we're supporting or advocating or participating, the Jewish people have lamplighters, me and you. It's an honor to be part of it, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we're doing everything that we can in the right, appropriate way to make sure that we're protecting our people and we're doing what's right for our people right now. Our next guest is Dalia Attar, a delegate in the Maryland General Assembly. University of Maryland Law School graduate Delegate Attar also works as a prosecuting attorney for Baltimore City. First elected at the age of 27, Delegate Attar is now 30 and a mother of 2 children. Delegate Attar watched her immigrant parents struggle to overcome hardships and learn the lessons they instilled in her work. In her hard work focused on family and contribution to the community. She's noted as the highest elected Orthodox Jewish female in the U.S. today. Earlier today, the executive director of Project Inspire, Yossi Friedman, had a chance to interview her. Before I play her interview, we have some breaking news that executive director Yossi Friedman's mother is the woman behind BF and the winner of Kahoot. Congratulations to Mrs. Bella Friedman to win Kahoot today. Congratulations to Yossi. And Yossi was the one who was able to conduct the interview of Mrs. Attar. Check out the interview from earlier today.
Dalia, you're in the Maryland House of Delegates and an assistant state's attorney. Tell us what that means for the simple folk out there. What is your role in government?
I have 2 positions. The non-elected position is I'm an assistant state's attorney in Baltimore City. And what that is I'm a prosecutor. I prosecute crime that takes place in the city. Now, my other role that's an elected position is I'm a delegate in the Maryland House of Delegates. And in that position, I'm a legislator. I make laws, I legislate, I sponsor bills, pass bills. That's what we do there.
Amazing. It seems that, when you come out of college, you could probably just assume that role, no? How did you get to that?
After getting my degree in criminal justice, I went to the University of Maryland and I got my law degree. At that point, throughout my undergrad and my law school, I was also working full-time in a law firm, and I had become an attorney there right when I passed the bar. But I had applied to one other job. I had applied to being an assistant state's attorney in the city. It has always been my passion. Everyone wants to feel safe. Everyone wants to be safe. And it has always been my passion to get this job. I applied to it. I got the job, and I worked there now for about 7 years. A couple of years ago, I decided that I want to do more than just prosecute crime. There's more to it. We're not going to end crime just by putting people in jail. There's social background, there's education that we need help with. There's a lot that goes into it. So that's when I decided I'm going to run for office as well. And I went with it. I don't come from a family background of politicians. I'm a first-generation American, and I decided I'm going to do this. And I did it, and I won my first attempt.
How do you find yourself able to juggle, being a religious Orthodox Jew, a female in the field with a family, and trying to juggle all of that?
I'll give some examples. Shabbat and holidays. My job is not a 9-to-5 job. It just is not. So on a Friday, I can have hearings that go until 9 p.m. On holidays, it could be the regular day, a regular weekday, and a regular work day. So in the beginning, it was very, very tough. Campaigning and missing a lot of campaigns on Shabbat was very tough. My opponents were all at all these events, these debates, and I was not. However, I told myself, I am a religious Jew, and this is something that I've done my entire life. I'm not going to compromise that. I'm going to make it work. So I did. On Fridays, if I have to leave hearings early, I always watch them. They're recorded. I'll watch them afterwards on Motzei Shabbos, after Shabbos, Saturday nights. There are events that I just have to miss, and I send my apologies for missing it, and I try to make it up on other days, but I just make it work. And then cooking for Shabbat, for example. We always have a Friday night meal. We always have a Shabbat lunch meal. And sometimes I'll be in Annapolis during session till very late on Thursday night. A lot of times I would sleep over on a regular night when I'm there late and have an early morning. But on Thursday nights, I do my very best to make it home, to be able to cook for Shabbat. And then Friday mornings, very early in the morning, I'll put up a cholent pot, a stew, and I then rush off back to Annapolis, try to leave as early as I can in order to make it on time for Shabbat, but I make it work in different ways. It's not the most simple, but I make it work.
Do you find yourself being able to make real change for the Jewish community on any level that makes you proud?
I've seen what the community needs. I've seen firsthand, I've experienced firsthand the different aspects and, like I use the word needs, but needs again of what this community in particular and Jews throughout the world need. And so when I'm in Annapolis and when we're working on policy, I have that unique perspective. So even if it's not specifically a bill on anti-Semitism, even if it's just about education in general, I am able to advocate and say, you know what, we should throw in Holocaust education into there. And I'm able to advocate in certain ways that I've personally experienced. And that is something that I truly am proud of. I represent a very, very diverse district. It is probably the most diverse district, I would say, in Baltimore City. And I believe that with my perspective as a female, with my perspective living in the city my entire life, with my perspective as a Jew, and with my perspective as a mother of 2 young children, I believe with all those that I have been able to, and I continue to do my best to represent every community in the district. And sometimes it's tough, people disagree with me, but that's my job and I do my best to do it right.
You know, the audience watching this, I'm sure, is wondering, you know, do you have any, like, you know, juicy anecdotal stories of things that, like, you know, whether it's an Orthodox Jewish female or whether just as a lawmaker sort of had you shaking your head, or, you know, even on a positive level of like something that was a major breakthrough? Anything you want to share with them that, you know, that sort of the flares of the position?
My father would always say, you are one day going to be a politician and make change. That's what's going to happen one day. And he also told me, and throughout the years, he would remind me, and my mother would remind me, remember your morals and your ethics, because if you do end up in that position one day, it's not.
They're gonna test those.
They're gonna test my morals and my ethics. Do you know what? They are right. Every single day when I'm in this job, the things I see, the things people ask me to do, it's just, they test my moral and ethics every day. And one thing I say is that's where I draw the line. I was raised a certain way and I will continue the rest of my life this certain way. I will not overstep those boundaries.
Dalia, I must say, you know, thank you on behalf of Project Inspire. Thank you for joining us, but also thank you for being the role model that we really enjoy having in lawmaking, in communities, in government. You represent us well. I read amazing articles about you. Keep doing the amazing work that you're doing. And we look forward to keep seeing you in the headlines for amazing things going on forward.
I truly appreciate being on this show. It really is my honor. Thank you for all the Project Inspire. Thank you for having me.
We'll get that.
Thank you, Yossi, for connecting you. Thank you, Dalia, for being a part of the show. Our next guest is Dov Hikind. He's the founder of Americans Against Anti-Semitism. He served in the New York State Assembly for 36 years, an outspoken advocate for his constituency, battling discrimination, anti-Semitism, Holocaust denial, and human rights violations. Dov's career began as an activist who fought for the Jewish immigration from Russia before the Iron Curtain had fallen. As a son of Holocaust survivors, educating the public on Nazi atrocities and fighting anti-Semites and racists so to prevent the reoccurrence of the genocide that has remained his central mission. Mr. Dov Hikind, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
You know, growing up, I got to tell you, I always watched you. We always knew that you had our back. We always knew that when something was going wrong, that Dov Hikind was going to stand up for our community. How did you get it started as an advocate, as an activist for us? What got you going in this arena?
I think the key part is the fact that when you grow up in a home where your parents survived the concentration camps, where your mother went to Auschwitz in 1944 with her mother, other members of the family, And most of the family went straight to the gas chambers the day they arrived in Auschwitz in 1944. That's what they did to our people. And I have spent my entire life from a very young age, every single day, just about reading, studying, trying to understand what was done to our people, and recognizing that all of us have an obligation to be there for each other. You know, we should be there for everybody, for all good people, but we have a special responsibility. You know, we're members of a beautiful club. It's called the Jewish People. It's a remarkable club. And I'm very proud to be part of the Jewish people. And, you know, when I served in the legislature for 36 years, you know, I represented all kinds of people, every kind of community, but always very proud to be a Jew, period.
Right. And, you know, can you share with us, I know that you've so many stories. Have you ever been in a situation where you really had to step up to something that scared you, that your courage had to come out to defend our people in an environment that may have been a little bit beyond what you expected?
Well, I'm not sure it's one particular thing, but there are many situations, you know. By the way, I did not grow up in, as your previous guest, no one in my family was involved in politics. When I got married 45 years ago, we didn't dream of running for office and being involved in the world of politics, but it was a way to do things. So, you know, there've been many challenges and difficulties. You know, when you're a member of one party, you're supposed to be loyal to that party, regardless of what goes on in that party. I have always been very proud to say, privately and publicly, that I love America. I'm a proud American, but I'm a very proud Jew, and the well-being of our people always comes first. So that is something that many times is a real challenge, because when you see things going on, you know, sort of, whether it's your own political party, whatever party that may be, it's not always easy to do the right thing. It's easy to criticize people from somewhere else, but not necessarily from within your own family or political party. So, you know, there have been many, many challenges in my life. You know, one of the things, again, it goes back a long time ago, one of my greatest challenges back in 1993, one day, someone by the name of one of the inspectors in the New York City Police Department came to my office, closed the door, and said he had to tell me something extremely important. And he told me at that time, his name was Schignelli, Chief Schignelli. He said to me that I was on a list to be assassinated. Now, I don't know if you're much younger than me, but it was a period, it made headlines during that period. I was on a list to be assassinated. For 3 months, my wife, myself, the kids, we lived with protection from the intelligence division of the New York City Police Department, day and night. When I went to shul, the police followed me, one person walking behind me, a police car. When I went to Albany, state troopers, I'll never forget, people used to wonder why there was a guy 6'5", he was very tall, a state trooper standing behind me all the time on the floor of the New York State Assembly. And that was part of, that was a group that was involved, a radical Islamic group that literally wanted to kill me, wanted to assassinate me. So, wow. You know, but there've been a lot of stories similar to that. But I think the bottom line is this: you've got to be there for your people.
Yeah.
On whatever level it is, it doesn't matter. Not doing anything is not an option.
You know, it's interesting you say that. And it's something that I think we're trying to drive home, and I'm trying to understand myself, and everybody is in this world. I don't think that there is a way today. I think there are so many ways today. And what advice would you give people? And I think there's different people with different capacities or abilities, and some people have the ability to get up and some people don't. Some people feel more familiar and comfortable. Some people don't. But I think that everyone has that fire inside them that says, I am a Jew, and I'm proud to be a Jew, and I want to be there for my people. What are some of the ways that you think people can be there for each other, especially during these periods of time?
And we are in very challenging times, and it's not going to get any easier. But every single person, you're absolutely correct that every person, God gives us different things. You know, some people are great speakers. Some people, everyone has something that you can use towards contributing towards your people. And by the way, it's not always about accomplishing so-called great things.
Right.
Being there for your neighbor,
Very good.
being there for your friends, saying hello to your neighbor and your friend every single day. When you see your neighbors having difficulty and you inquire and you try to help and you try to be there. So those little things actually get you very far. And I think God loves when we are there for each other on whatever level. Now, everyone has to make their own decision. What are you going to do? What can I do? And if you look and if you search, you can get involved in something that you feel comfortable with, that pleases you. There is so much out there. There's so much good out there, okay? And everyone needs to be inspired. Project Inspire. Inspiration is one of the most powerful things. You're an example of that. When you speak and people listen to you, inspiration makes people react and they think, what can I do? And everyone can find that answer if you really look.
Right. Well, I completely agree. And Mr. Heiken, you've inspired us today. Continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for what you've been doing for all these years.
Thank you.
More people are watching than you think, but I'm sure you're aware that when you take a stand for our community, that you're doing for us. And I think that message needs to be clear. And I hope that it is, because wherever we are, we take care of each other. Thank you for being on the show, and thanks for what you do.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it very much.
And that was Dov Heiken. And that's exactly the message I think that I want to sort of end with here. This is what the show really is about. Before I do, I want to give a couple more Shabbat Shaloms to my good friend, Michael Weingart from Germany. Shabbat Shalom. Michael is the best guy in the world, and I see him every single morning. To Stephen Andrew, Shabbat Shalom. Ron Adler. Bet Zuckerbrau, Shabbat Shalom from Smithtown. Abraham Matias from Mexico, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to Goldie Tauber. To Sharon Leduc, who was actually at the rally that we heard earlier today. Shabbat Shalom to you, and Shabbat Shalom to everybody else. I think what we got today, from at least what I got today, is a couple of things that I want to share. Jews in the political arena, there are Jews that will be in politics, but it's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than the political arena. I think what's really going on is, first and foremost, is the ability to realize that we're a nation. We're a nation. We're a team. We're a family. We come from the same fathers and mothers. And we've been around for a long time. We're going to be around forever. And part of the history of our people is that usually it's not smooth for very long. And the way we make it is when we're there for each other. The way we make it in this world is when each and every one of us realize that we're here for each other. I think one of the greatest blocks, one of the greatest challenges that we have as a people is when we say, I'm not enough. You don't need me. Even when you're watching, you could be thinking, well, I'm not this person or that person. I'm just me. I live in this area. I have this background. If you're part of our nation, God is telling you, we need you to take care of us. There is no Jew that is not enough to take care of another, and the whole world. But once we realize that we're proud, once we realize that we need to be responsible for each other, then whether we look out for our neighbor or get involved politically or get involved communally or stand up against evil or stand for good, we become activists. We become people that are connected arm in arm, not only with each other, but with everyone before us and everybody coming after us. That's our responsibility. That's our pride, and that's our honor. That's what Shabbat really is all about. It's about remembering who we are. It's about staring up at God and remembering that He made our nation. And He made our nation as His partner. You know, we stand on Friday and we say Kiddush. What we're doing is we're testifying to creation. And in the testimony that we give that God created the world in 6 days, God has turned to us and said, I have put this world in place in 6 days imperfect. Shabbat's a day of rest, but the 6 days aren't, because I need you to be my partner for 6 days. And in case you get lost, and in case you don't realize it, on Shabbat, I'll remind you. Stand, remember how the world was built. Remember that I put this world in place that was built to be imperfect. And remember that I put you down as a nation that has the ability to give testimony and to be my partner. And remember that I need you to lift up the world. I need you to lift up the world by lifting up each other. Shabbat's the moment where we get to take a break, stop, and remember. It's an honor to be a Jew. It's an honor to be part of this people. It's our honor to be able to help each other out, to be there for each other, and to make sure that no matter what comes our way, we're there together. I feel honored to be part of this family. So on behalf of me and mine to you and yours, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. May this be a Shabbat filled with pride and courage and resilience. Whatever goes on around us, we'll get through it. We've been through it all. As long as we bind together, we can do anything. May this be a Shabbat in which we increase our pride and our trust and increase our ability and our responsibility to each other. So on behalf of all of us, I wish you a good weekend, a good Shabbos. I hope and pray by next week to be able to do this live in Jerusalem. But if not, we hope with God's help to see you here next week. And of course, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom.
We together call it I do, shoot. With every generation, they take one, raising the haters. Then the shim hit the pavement, blazing the savers. Till the world asks where they went. Patience are faithless. The Torah gave the whole world a facelift. If hatred is baseless, we take it, erase it, and exchange it for that master goal. We don't forget wherever we may go. There is only one place we know, and it's called Zil. We won. Pieces and you're just falling down, falling down. I pick you up, and if you feel like you're outnumbered on a battleground, and you hide enough, well, I will be there for you every time. As you turn around, I will let you down. I'll be there, and we'll both become brighter than the sun. Together we in New York.